Okay, welcome everybody. These two told me that I didn't need to do a fancy introduction, but I will say I have had the pleasure of working with them outside of Summit, and they're always fun and great conversation, and I'm really excited for you guys to learn about how Gilt combines agile methodologies with traditional project management. So without further ado, Heather and Justin.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. If I can get this clicker to work. So we're going to just start off today with a brief intro, like who we are, what we do, that kind of stuff, and then move into what we do at Gilt and how our organization might be a little crazy, just to give you a flavor for kind of where we come from.
I'm going to give you some context into how we work and then show you how we're using the tools to help us do that.
So this is us. I am also Myers-Briggs Type Indicator certified, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. So you can see on the bottom there we have our types. I'm an INFJ, and Justin is the complete opposite of me. He is an ESTP.
I got all the good ones.
I don't know.
It's not my fault.
Just to kind of show you there's all types of project managers in the world.
Yeah, there's no type.
How many project managers are here today?
Yeah,
how many of you are actually still called project managers? How many of you had changed to Scrum Master? How many of you are confused? Yeah, so we're going to talk about, the project management comeback, because we really think that there's a shift happening where it was really cool to be, PMP certified and a project manager for a while, and then all of a sudden this agile thing happened and everybody had to turn into Scrum Masters, but the old disciplines are coming back, and how do we combine these two things and use Jira Agile and all that great stuff.
The discipline is still really important and part of Agile, right? So that's what we're here to talk about. But first, you guys know what Gilt is? You guys know it's a small pig, a young pig?
If you search for GILT, this is what you're going to see.
I was actually surprised to find that. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that.
But Gilt.com, we are an e-commerce company. We focus on flash sales. We're headquartered in New York City, but we have a tech office in Dublin, an office in Limerick. We also have a distribution center in Louisville.
We got people all over the place, right?
Check it out. It's fun.
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit about us. This is what most people think about when they think about project management.
In anticipation of our big release of Nucleus at CES in January, we decided to give the world a sneak preview. Nucleus, in partnership with Dana White and the Ultimate Fighting Championship, will be the exclusive provider of live streaming for next month's Ultimate Fighting Championship event, Melina versus Bulgakov 2. I realize the full platform won't be ready until January, but our Nucleus division assures me they are ready for this challenge.
And I can think of no more exciting a way to give a little taste of Nucleus to the entire world than by putting video latency in a rear-naked chokehold. Great job, team. All right, back to work.
Did you tell Gavin where we are on the video situation?
He does know that converting the whole platform to middle out has put us at least 6 weeks behind schedule, right?
Well, I'm not going to be the one who tells him we're that far behind.
Oh,
if you want to, feel free.
I like her.
I just heard you tell Heidi we're 6 weeks behind. But remember that drop frame issue I showed you? We're easily 15 weeks behind.
Well, I'm not going to be the one to tell Heidi about that.
Feel free to tell her yourself.
Did I just hear you say we're only 15 weeks behind? I've been integrating the system natively and...
Dude, I don't even want to know about it.
Yeah.
Project management's hard. I think that first woman was the PM.
I feel like, she's the one. I'm not going to tell him,
She's
right?
like, forget it. I'm just going to tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the trap that PMs get stuck in, right? You want to make sure that management's happy. You tell them what they want to hear.
And then you go back to your team and you're like, well, how do we make it happen? How do we push everyone? How do we cut features out? How do we add more people, right? Rather than telling the truth about what's happening, you're telling people a mythology and then figuring out how you can make that happen, right? How can I make a unicorn or a Pegasus or something like that? Things that don't exist.
So what we do at Gilt is our number one philosophy as project management is to tell the truth. And we also kind of take it upon ourselves to do a lot of organizational cultural change to kind of support this whole methodology of telling the truth and being realistic and setting realistic goals. So what we do is, it's important to know that we do not follow a Scrum process, and that's going to come more into play when we talk about how we use the tools. But we are agile, and we follow the principles of the Agile Manifesto, which are these 12 things you can look up later.
This is our guiding light, right? This is not the rules of Scrum. This is, well, if we want to do something, how does it fit in with these principles?
So we start with that. Like this is our foundation. These are the things that we believe in. These are the areas in which we're going to focus. And then what we do is we help the organization figure out, well, how do we kind of go from big idea to actually start working on stuff? And this is just a little step-by-step of how we break that down.
There's a lot of work that you have to do before you start working on projects to make sure that you're aligned with the strategy of the company, you have the right people, and you know if you're succeeding or not.
That's the thing, too, is like I think a lot of people find motivation in knowing how what they do is contributing to the company's larger strategy. And this breakdown really ties that work that we all do every day to that strategy and gives people that sense of purpose. That's really important. And this is something that the project management team, the PMO, really helped foster and create the cultural change necessary to make this happen.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this in other talks, but what it comes down to is don't give your teams lists of projects, give them problems to solve and help them understand why those problems are important to the company and the organization.
So we do some really crazy things, and this is kind of where the controversial stuff kind of kicks in. Like, what? So
we'll see. You guys tell us if it's controversial. You can put questions in the app, I think.
These are the things that we found work for us. So wherever possible, if a team is working on a specific initiative, we like to have them in the same place. We create these pizza-sized teams, which are teams that can be fed by 2 pizzas.
Unless I'm on the team, then it takes 3 pizzas, but well, you know,
See, look,
I like pizza.
You did a joke.
I'm trying to come up with some good jokes for you guys.
That's a good one.
You know. Yeah, and you know, co-located can't always happen, but we'll talk a little bit later about HipChat and how that helps us feel like we're co-located in a lot of cases.
Dedicated business partners, that's always awesome. It's always really challenging, but that works really well for us, having a partner.
When you can find them and when they can be available, can't beat it.
We do work in sprints, and we have sprint planning, but that's really probably all of the things that we've taken from a Scrum process. We work in kind of 2 levels, and you'll see how we do this in Jira, where we work with epics and tasks. We don't go 3 levels deep with subtasks. And we estimate mainly with issue counts. There's hardly, maybe like 1 or 2 teams, and maybe we're talking about 20 teams total in technology that use Jira. And most of those teams just do like, how many issues am I committing to versus how many have I completed? We don't really go crazy with estimates.
People have a good sense, especially if they've been working together for a while, or if you've been working them for a while, they have a good sense of what they can do in 1 or 2 weeks. You don't need necessarily to go through all the work to assign story points or hours or days to every single thing once you get your groove going. So we kind of just say, like, you know how much you can do, and then we kind of go from there rather than investing all that time.
It's a culture of trust.
Yeah, trust. Oh.
So here's where people start to go, you guys are nuts because we don't have QA. There is no QA.
I mean, we test stuff. We don't have a QA team. But, I mean, it's like trust again, right? If you're on the team that's developing the code, writing it, deploying it, guess who's responsible for testing it and for quality? The same team, right? There's no other team that's magically going to be responsible for that stuff. It's harder for them to do it, and plus you should have a team that's set up for success and able to do that.
So it's a lot more monitoring, alerting, writing tests within the code itself, but there's no like throw it over the wall to the testers.
We'll see what QA comes back with. We don't do that stuff.
We also don't have a Scrum Master role.
Never.
The title does not exist, which I'm personally happy about because I hate that word. I think some dudes invented it in a room together. I just don't like it.
I don't have as strong feelings about it, but you know.
I'm a girl. I have strong feelings. We don't have product owners either. I am the VP of Product and Program Management at Gilt. We have product managers. We don't have this like Scrum concept of the product owner that is primarily responsible for like maintaining the backlog. We're much more team-based, where the team contributes in a lot of different ways.
It kind of flows into what you heard at the keynote, right? It's not individuals that make products, it's teams, right? So why have someone that's labeled or dubbed the product owner when it's really the team that's owning the product, figuring out what to do, and then like owning it, right?
Mm-hmm. And we don't do long-term road mapping. Things change a lot, so we're trying to, we do like maybe time boxes for 3 months, and if it's worth it keeping investing in, we do. But we're very quick to change, and we change a lot.
Yeah, we found that long-term roadmaps were just lies that we were telling everybody all the time.
So team structure, this is also a little funky because we build teams not with specific roles. Like I said, we don't have on every team a product owner or a scrum master or a QA person or a UX person. We think about people as lists of ingredients.
Yeah, I mean, what do you bring to the team as a person, right? Not as a title, right? A product manager, there's a lot of different product managers out there. They all bring different things to teams, right? So we look at each team, who the people they are, what people are on the team and what they bring to the table. And then we look at those teams and say, okay, are they missing someone who needs to do, I don't know, like to motivate the team or to make the team fun or something like that?
So it's, think about yourself and your own role in your company right now and what title has been placed upon you. Does that really represent the things that you can bring to the table? Where are your strengths? Can you contribute more? That's how we coach individuals and how we create teams, is we look at them as people with specific skills, not as a title that has to fulfill certain requirements. So some examples of the ingredients that we're talking about, this one's one of the more fun ones. Like every team needs somebody that's doing this because you're at work all day long, you work with these people all the time. Are you having fun? Are there people on your team that like make sure that there's a sense of team spirit?
Yeah, I love that one. Motivator is one that's more classically within the realm of project management, right? Someone who's motivating the team, someone who's like making sure the environment is highly engaging for everybody, someone who's got enthusiasm for what the work is, right? This is again getting away from, well, here's the list of stuff we have to do.
It's very people focused. Yeah. External relationship manager. We always bring this one up because typically we found that the product manager or the product owner on the team is responsible for this ingredient, but they're not necessarily the best public speaker. They're not necessarily the best person on your team who can get in front of the room of execs and like explain what they're doing. Sometimes it's the engineer.
Yeah, you might have a really dynamic lead engineer who's really passionate and really understands what they're doing and wants to be the one that's the face of the team. Let them do that. Don't say they can't do it and put a product manager or a project manager or anybody in between them and what they're good at.
And as project managers, this is super important, like the ability to flex outside of what your title says you should and shouldn't do. Because project management too often gets stuck with the administrative and secretarial duties of a team. You don't need to do that. That's not a specialized skill. Anyone can create a calendar invite. Anyone can take meeting notes. Focus on the things that are special about you that you're going to bring to the table.
Yeah. All right,
Sum up slide.
Yeah.
We're not done yet. That's just the first part.
We're just summing up that first part. Yeah. Right. It's really about creating that right culture, right? And really encouraging experimentation. And if you can do those things, we have found that we can deliver results a lot faster, or even like understand that what we're doing is right or wrong a lot faster and change. Because you shine a light on what the problems are and what's working well, and you adapt.
Okay. We're going to talk about tools.
Yeah. Power tools.
These are the tools we use. We use HipChat. Love HipChat.
Yeah.
I just posted a picture of the agenda and how many people are attending this session to our team back in New York, which they thought was really awesome. So HipChat's awesome.
The app has gotten a lot better, too. I know they're talking about it this morning. But yeah.
So the way in which we switched over to HipChat is actually kind of funny because we took some influence.
We learned from Sweden. In the 60s in Sweden, they were like, we need to stop driving on the left side of the road, and we need to start driving on the right side of the road. And this was kind of like what our chat situation was like, where we had like 8,000 different chat things that everyone was using. And then every week someone would be like, we should try this one, we should try that one. And so it was like, you couldn't get like critical mass around anything. So we did an analysis, we said HipChat's the one we're gonna use, and on this day, everyone's gonna switch. So just like in Sweden in the 60s, we just switched to the other side of the road.
And it was called H Day in Sweden, and H is for HipChat, so we can adopt the same thing. We had an H Day.
Yeah, we had H Day.
In which everybody switched over in one day, and you could think that that's hard, but I think it was the best way to do it. And we never looked back. Like everybody's totally on board and bought in. We use it for a lot of different things. It's a great way to connect with remote employees. We use it for ticket management. You can see here we're like pulling in, we wrote some, this is before some of the add-ons existed, but we wrote some stuff to automatically pull in Jira tickets, images sharing, and we do a lot of cultural rooms. So we do have a lot of fun with HipChat. Like there's a beer room, there's a whiskey room.
There's a free food room. If you guys don't have that at your office, you should definitely make one for whenever free food shows up around the office.
Like, oh my God, free food at the high table.
Yeah. Donuts, etc.
So it's a really great cultural tool as well as like good for work.
Every team has their room. It's a way for them to work together, to communicate out. We put them together by projects as well sometimes if we need them. It's so easy to spin things up and keep people together and integrated.
For us, this is the meat and potatoes, right? Jira Agile is where we live and breathe.
Yeah, and we set it up a little differently than maybe other people might do it. So I made this very simple picture so you guys can see. So if you see at the top, you have Jira projects, right? So we spin up a project kind of per team. So we don't use projects as projects. They're kind of long-lasting.
They're either teams or a Jira project created for a particular service.
Yep.
All different kinds of stuff.
A code base or something like that, right? So we set these things up as long-standing kind of repositories of work. And then we use filters and agile boards to kind of filter that down for initiative teams, right? So on the board, you can separate everything, and we'll get into how we use epics and everything, but really we use the filter and the agile board to say, what Jira projects is your team responsible for? What areas do you own, right? What services do you own? What projects are you responsible for? It's encompassing these projects, and then we use the agile board to kind of pull that subset in for them, and then that's what they own.
So our one-to-one is there's one agile board per initiative team, but there might be multiple Jira projects behind that.
And each team is working on multiple projects and has multiple areas of ownership, so that's why that works well for us. Teams are not a one project-based team. They have multiple things going on at once.
So this is kind of how we break it out. It kind of goes back to that slide about how we organize our work. Strategy is the biggest bucket. Initiatives are the next level down.
It's teams pretty much for us.
Teams, yeah. And then epics kind of represent projects for us, and tasks. That's it. Very simple, very flat. I see people taking pictures, so I'll let you do that. And then we wanted to kind of walk you through how we set up our board. So this you can see on the side is just all the different epics that are going on. So we have an epic per project, but we also have epics, one for red hot, which is kind of like anything that's like mission critical, production priority bugs. We create an epic for that so we can track how we're doing with red hot. Red hot might get moved to other projects, but it starts there. And then we also have one called operations, which is kind of non-project work that's going to hit your team that you want to kind of keep a handle on and kind of understand how does that work affect the team's ability to get their project work done.
Service upgrades, things that's not critical but has to happen in order for you to keep moving on.
And then in the middle you see like these are just all the tasks in the backlog. There's a couple sprints planned out. We just kind of drag each of them over to whichever epic it belongs to so that we can get a quick view of the labeling mechanism. It's just easy, but that's it.
The flat structure here is really important because it gives you a really easy way to see everything. There's no subtasks hidden in these things. You can see very quickly if you look at a sprint, how much are we investing towards each kind of epic or project, right? Because it's all labeled very easily. You're like, well, most of the stuff in this sprint is about project A. Or wow, everything's red hot in this sprint. What's going on?
Yeah. And on the workboard, similar kind of thing, very straightforward. This one's organized by epics, but our workflow is pretty simple. It's to do in progress. There are some teams that have this waiting for feedback line item, but not all. Code review, which is really where all the testing happens. And then it's awaiting release, and then it's out. So it's not as simple as to do in progress done, but this is so customizable, and this is so close to that, it's very easy to get through. Those are some of our coworkers. See their happy pictures.
Yeah, there's Andy. All right.
And then we get to reporting. And I think this might be one of the underutilized areas of Jira Agile. And we just started diving really deep into it because there's so much good information there around how your teams are performing. So take the time and get to know the reports. We're going to go through a couple of them and kind of what we've learned and how we're using them.
We weren't using these a lot early on, and we've really tried to see the value recently. Well, not that recently, but we've really tried to dig in and see a lot of value here. And this is stuff that's like out of the box pretty much. Like you saw how simple our organization is. We don't do a lot of estimating. We have epics with tickets inside of them. We don't do anything complicated to be able to get these reports.
It's because as project managers, we want to just make sure the teams are performing well. So we look at the velocity chart.
Yep.
How many things is the team committing to for a sprint? How many of those things are they completing? What's the problem here?
You can do this even if you're not estimating. You can set it up by issue count. That's it, right?
Just how much stuff comes in, how much stuff went out.
Yep. So you see this team had a problem.
This team has a problem, right? Overcommitment, under-delivery. You see there's some course correction there that's trying to fix it, but it's still not like the same all the time. There's still some predictability that's not happening.
If you're on this team or you're responsible for this team and you're in like a non-engineering role, this is when you go talk to the team. This is when you get involved and figure out like, well, what is going on? Or go to their sprint planning, go to their stand-up if they're doing that. Get in their hip chat room, look at their board, right? Start investigating. See what you can do to help them, because you can show them they have a problem, and then you can show them the result of any, like, so obviously they made some change between those, second to last and third to last sprints. Show them how it's helping them, and then stay involved to make sure that you keep that goodness going.
Another one that we use is the cumulative. I had to say that slowly because I stutter every time I do it. Cumulative flow diagram. We use this to kind of just show the big picture of how, like, what's happening with the work. If you've never seen this before, though it looks crazy, but the way in which you want to look at it is you want to kind of look at the top line that the orange is making, that to-do line, and then look at the top line of that done, and the work all in between that is your work in progress. So you have a big problem if those two lines aren't staying in parallel. You can see there's a big problem where it's like, all of a sudden there's more and more and more work in progress. You can see we did a course correction in May 2015 to try to get that back in line. And now we just continue to monitor this and see, does that team, is it maintaining a really good pace of work in progress? Are things getting done at the same pace work is coming into the queue? And if those lines start to separate again, if it gets bigger and bigger, we kind of go back to the team and say, what do we need to course correct this? How do we make this better?
I mean, a good example of what you could see here is like, oh my God, this team is being inundated with red hot, or what we call red hot is production support problems, right? So they have a bunch of stuff open that they're not finishing, their projects are getting stalled. How do we get to root cause of those problems? Do a project to fix them, treat them as first-class citizens, and then see the correction of like, okay, we don't have as many issues coming in anymore, the team can get back to focusing on the strategic work they want to have. I'm pretty sure that's what this was here.
And then in some areas too, you can kind of see where is work getting stuck. So if you get a big blip in progress, but still nothing's getting done, it gives you more information to go back to the team and say, why is everything kind of getting stuck in progress? Like, why isn't it pushing through to done? Yep. Your job as a project manager is to remove roadblocks, right? To make sure the team is working as efficiently as it can. And this is a great tool to just see at one glance what's happening.
When you can bring in team information like this and also solutions based on your experience doing this for so long about what you need to fix, you don't need to tell them what you do. They know what you do. You realize your value so fast, right? They're like, oh yeah, it's really important to have that person on the team because they're helping. It's good.
Epic Burndown, always be estimating. We use this for the teams that do estimate their tickets. This team estimates them with hours. When you do that, you actually get some value out of this. So with this team, they preload all of their backlog tickets into a specific epic. They estimate those tickets as it goes through each sprint, and then Jira does the magic for you of figuring out how many sprints left you have. So it kind of watches your velocity and it looks for the trends, and then this one kind of sees what got added, what got finished, and then based on that, this says this project has 5 sprints remaining.
So this is so powerful if you need to hit a deadline. You got a contract, you got a client, you got to do an integration in time or something like that. You need to hit your date. This will let you know if you're going to get there or not based on current estimates, not based on what you said when you started the project 3 months ago, which was a guess. So if you're constantly re-estimating and you have true estimates in your tickets, you can use this to make sure you hit your time. We didn't estimate for a long time, so we didn't really know about this, but once we started needing to, it really helped us a lot.
Super helpful.
Yeah.
And it does it. You don't have to do this in another sheet somewhere.
You don't
That's
need
kind of the thing.
spreadsheet and like the calculations.
All the information is in one spot. The reports just generate themselves. Much less work for you.
Use it. Work smart, right?
And then one of our favorites,
this is the most
because it looks
intimidating
like
one.
crazy town, is the control chart. And this one kind of takes a little while to wrap your head around because there's a lot going on in this chart. But it's really, for me, about predictability. How predictable is the work coming in, coming out? Like, can you even say how long, when I get a ticket into the queue, will it take for that ticket to be done? There's an average, which is that red line. So this is under, I can't read it from here, 10 days?
Less than 10 days from the ticket being open to being done. The blue is interesting.
The blue line is a rolling average, so it adjusts itself, and you can see, oh no, like the rolling average says it's going up over 10 days, like something's happening. The dots are like issues that are being closed. So you want tight clustering of that, because that just means that things are getting done in the right amount of time. Standard deviation is like the plus or minus. So right now, If the ticket gets into the queue, on average, it'll take 6 days and 16 hours to be done. One ticket.
Yeah. So this is a team that has a very wide spread here. Like the clustering is not what you'd want to see, and the rolling average is going up over time, right? So there's some things to go and talk to this team about.
I've seen worse. Like this one's actually okay.
It's okay.
But it gives you, again, another sense of like, what are the types of conversations you can start having with your teams to increase velocity, to get work done faster, to remove roadblocks, to find out what's really happening in their day-to-day, what's interrupting them, how can you streamline that stuff so that the most important work is getting done faster.
Which is pretty much what this says, right? Like, don't do the repetitive administrative work. Do the stuff that's valuable, do the stuff that is not immediately obvious to people.
Leverage the tools. Yep. Let the tool do the work for you. Stop copying, pasting things into Excel to make charts. Like, it's stupid. Yeah. Let this
Don't waste your time. Yeah. All right, and then there's one more thing we want to talk about is kind of how you take this and deliver up, right? How do you show the org what you're doing?
So we do these roll-ups. You know, we run the PMO, so we have to roll up across multiple teams. What we do, though, is we kind of just focus on what's happening right now. This is like a sample version of what we do.
Yeah, this is old school. This is just a dashboard, right?
Just a dashboard, nothing
Been around
crazy.
in Jira for a long time, right?
What's in progress right now. The summary is actually taken from the Epic ticket. So these are all the Epic tickets that we set up in the other boards.
Right, this isn't like a copy of anything. This is just pulling from the setup we already have.
It just pulls from the existing
These
data.
are all the epics that are already set up in all the projects.
And then if there's anything in discovery, we put that in here. And then the rest of it gets logged as opportunities. Yeah. You don't talk about opportunities. You don't think about opportunities. You don't work on opportunities. That's way too far in the future.
You focus on what you're working on now. If people want you to work on other things, you explain to them why what you're working on now is important, not why you're not working on the other thing.
What's now, what's immediately next, and then the rest of that's negotiable.
Yeah. So we found a lot of value in this. It's really easy for us to put together. On the
we
next
also
slide,
like happy and sad faces because, again, you just want that visual, like, hey, how's this project going?
This is like for communicating up, right? But we don't have to do any extra work to do it. If you want to, this is just kind of how the workflows work.
We have a separate workflow for Epic tickets to create this dashboard. That's kind of what you're looking at here is like, how does something move from opportunity to in discovery to in progress and to closed? We put this here as a little reference for you guys. And the sum up is really, project management can be the go-to for the truth. Like what's really happening with the team, what's really happening with the project. Tell the truth.
Yeah, and the operative line here is real data, right?
Real data.
Not PowerPoints or whatever, or slide decks that kind of take what's really happening and then massage it. We show what's really happening and then we talk about it. And that's where your team, your project management team, will be valued in the org because people will know that if they go to you, they're going to get the truth about what's going on, not what they want to hear.
Be the change, be that spark that's going to
Don't be the woman in that video who's like, I don't care.
Yep.
That's it. I think that's it.
Thank you, guys.
If you guys want to stick around, I think we have time for one question.
One question.
Sorry.
We'll also be at Meet the Speakers tomorrow, and maybe we'll hang out outside the door if you want to talk more. Love to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, in this room tomorrow. But top voted question is, I love the idea of a cruise director, a motivator, etc. Can you talk about how you choose or assign these roles on each team?
So what we do is we take all of the teams and we list out all of the ingredients, and there's probably like 24 different ingredients
that a team needs.
That a team needs to be successful. And we look at one team and we'll put a name in the box. And then we'll talk to that team and we'll say, okay, based on these ingredients, these are the ones that we think that you're either really good at or that we'd like you to be responsible for. And then it's a conversation. Yeah. It's kind of like, maybe Justin has a baseball card on him and those are his stats. He's the cruise director. He's the organizer.
I mean, it's about looking for people who are just really good at that already, or if there's not someone like that, looking for someone who's really interested in it and wants to develop and making sure you help them develop into that ingredient.
Yep.
And that's how you can get people to grow as well. It's like letting them know that they're responsible for this, but knowing that maybe they're just still growing into it. It's just a way to make sure that you're not just assigning these things based on people's titles. You want to find the person who's going to be best on it on the team. And if there's no one on the team, well, who do we need on this team to make it successful?
Yeah, if there's
Let's
a
set
gap,
them up
then
for
it's
success.
working on, okay, how do we fill that gap and figure out
Or do we have 3
people
on the team who have strong opinions about product vision? Danger. It's also sometimes like we have the wrong people on the team, not necessarily we're missing people.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. It was great to talk. Appreciate it.
Woo.